Ladies and gentlemen, there's nobody on earth doing what this man does. Please, welcome to the stage, Daryl Sprout. Can you hear me? Now you can hear me. Okay, now that I'm down here, I want to actually sort of ask a few questions up front, because I know a lot of you thought we're just going to go to the family-friendly magic show today. How many people here does that include? Is that pretty much, yeah. I have a question for you. How many of you don't like snakes? You only get snakes, a dead snake, Daddy go get the hoe or the shovel. You know, the hoe used to be a garden tool. Actually, I specialize. I almost got away with that. Wait a minute, get your hands back up. I need to see my targets. I know we got one down front. That's good. Yes. Okay, I specialize in people like you, and I'm cheaper than a shrink. I kid you not, I've had little old ladies who were afraid of snakes their whole life, who ended up at the end of my show with a snake around their neck, grinning from ear to ear. And I mean the little old lady, not the snake. Stick with me, we're gonna start small. And I'll give you a little disclaimer. This is actually, what do you call this, disclosure? All of my scary turns out to be funny, okay? No one will leave here traumatized. I'm good at this, you'll see. Okay, so, how many people here, now I saw how many people were afraid of snakes. How many people here are afraid of something? Okay? We're gonna talk about that. You know what you call a fear of something that's really ingrained? What do you call it? A phobia. Okay? Now I specialize in ophidiophobia, which is the fear of ophidia. No, ophidiophobia is the fear of snakes. It's a long story why it's ophidia, but at any rate, I will help you with that, but I can help you with any phobia at all. And a phobia is basically a Christmas present you haven't opened yet. We will come back to that. So, I want to say a huge thank you to the Improv. This place is an awful lot of fun. I want to thank you all for coming. I want to thank you all for your patience, coming to something you didn't expect. Here we go. Now, of course, the first question everybody always asks me is, did you bring anything poisonous? I always start with that question, but I never answer it first. 4 kinds of venomous snakes in Texas. Does anybody think that includes cobras? No, there's no cobras in Texas except when someone lets one loose here. Now, you kids are not going to remember this, but it was about 7 years ago. There was a story all over North Texas. In fact, for a little while it went nationwide. It was about a cobra that was loose under a building near downtown Dallas. And there was an idiot, an expert, that they sent under the building to go after it. We'll come back to that. Now, what do we have in Texas that is venomous? We got rattlesnakes. Water moccasins, exactly, cottonmouths, copperheads, and? Now, one of the ways that you can tell that somebody is into snakes have a lot more pillowcases than he has pillows. And what kind of Mickey Mouse operation is this anyway? Here we go. Rattlesnakes, copperheads, water moccasins, and... I'm kidding. What did I say about all my scary? It turns out to be funny. Now, This is a rat snake, which is why he's in a mouse bag. What is good about rat snakes? Right, mice and rats, exactly. Rice and rats, yes, mice and rats. There we go. This is my favorite, the red rat snake. Isn't he gorgeous? He's also such a good boy. You know what my favorite thing is to do with him? I cannot tell you what a conversation starter this is at the dog park. He's a red rat snake, so his name is Rojo. Tony Rojo. Coincidentally, it's hard to keep him healthy. He's a good boy. You know the other name for the red rat snake? Anybody know? Anybody know? No. This is a corn snake. Why do they call him a corn snake? They do not eat corn. Lives in a cornfield is a good guess, but wrong. He's called a corn snake because the underside looks like Indian corn. Cool. Don't ask me why they need a checkerboard in their tummies. I do not know. Yes. Tony's a good boy. So, let's hear it for Tony Rojo. Oh, wait a minute. Before I put him away, this is supposed to be a magic show, isn't it? You want a little magic before Tony goes away? Let's see here. As I recall, this is going to be the challenge. I don't actually do this all the time. I am actually not a career magician. I had a girlfriend in high school. But, yes, a long time ago. Thank you very much for pointing out. Yes. But I also, I use magic to help me tell my story. And my story is basically why you shouldn't kill wildlife. And there's a lot to that story. In my lifetime, half the wildlife on this planet has gone away. And my species is responsible. So I want to help you to help me help everybody else stop killing wildlife. Okay? I'll give you an example. Do you know you don't even have to kill fire ants? Do you know that? You don't need toxic pesticides in your yard. You know what you can put out instead? Dry molasses. Seriously, about like, fertilizer. It is fertilizer, basically. It's wonderful for the soil. You put out 20 pounds to 1,000 square feet. You spread it like fertilizer. It doesn't even kill the ants. They just hate it. So they move into your neighbor's yard where they belong. So, here I go with this thing. Since we're talking about Tony Rojo, I haven't used this in a while. It's a little dirty, I can see. But this is obviously plexiglass above and below, right? Now you can see I can stick a finger through here, but I can't stick a finger through there at all, right? Everybody with me? Okay. So, here we go. It's funny, I haven't used this thing in a while. Here we go. I know, it's got a screw missing. Here we go. I haven't used this in ages. But since a lot of people have expressed a little dismay at finding out they had gone to the magic show and found that there were snakes instead, we're doing snake magic. Tony Rojo will now do the impossible. Tony Rojo will now pass through solid plexiglass. And he will fight me all the way through. What a lot of help you are, thank you. And he's done it. And as you can see, it's still solid, please. Thank you. Oh my God, this thing's falling apart. Where are we going with you? That in your mouse bag. Now, I said, I start with the first question, which is, did you bring anything poisonous? First of all, there's no such thing as a poisonous snake. There is no such thing as a poisonous snake. If Tony were venomous, I'd be in trouble if he bit me. If he were poisonous, I'd be in trouble if I bit him. Do you get the difference? Snakes are not poisonous. Snakes taste like chicken. And if there had been a food shortage, my house was Y2K ready. And you kids have no idea what I'm talking about. Trust me, your parents are still sitting on a stash of freeze-dried food that expired 6 years ago. Where am I going to put you? Let's see here. But now, the fourth venomous snake, after rattlesnake, copperhead, water moccasin, what's the fourth one?
Coral snake.
Who knows what these are for? These are for snakes that need to be over there. You see, I do a show for snake, well, my show is called Snake Encounters. I do schools and scout troops and Rotary clubs and, oh gosh, fairs and festivals. I even do birthday parties. But I also, yeah, I also do snake removal. When somebody's got a snake problem, I'm the guy who has to climb under the house or through the attic and remove the snake so that Mom will move out of the hotel room and back into the house. It's also awesome for the frisbee on the roof, the softball under the bush, or the underwear that fell behind the dryer. Which seems to be usually the reason I use it. But I only use this on the really dangerous ones. Do you guys know what the real venomous Texas coral snake looks like? Do you want to see? It looks like this! What did I say about all my scary? This is a Taiwanese vinyl snake. Thank you, grown-ups, for getting that joke. No, he's not real. As a matter of fact, I think we've established that, but no. But he's anatomically correct. And here's the deal about this snake around here. Anybody remember the rhyme, red and yellow? Red and yellow kill a pony. You see where the red touches the yellow? The coral snake looks like that. The red touches the yellow and never touches the black. Which is the rest of the rhyme. Red and black, venom black, save for Jack. No need to jump back, don't have an attack. But, if you're here in Dallas County, or if you're in Collin County, or Tarrant County, or Rockwall County, if you're around here, and you see a snake that looks like this, do not bother with the rhyme. You're too far west for the Louisiana milk snake. You're too far north for the Mexican milk snake. And you're too far east for everything else that looks like this. So if you see one of these, what do? Run is good, run is overkill, but run will do. Try not to run into any trees. Does anybody think you should tell a grown-up? Almost always the worst thing you can do. You see, venom is not meant for you. Venom is not meant for self-defense. They only use it in self-defense when something tries to kill them. Like some crazy grown-up with a shovel. 8 out of 10 people who are bitten by venomous snakes were trying to kill the snake at the time. And the other two had just said, hold my beer and watch this. All you have to do if you see a snake, here's what you do, kids, remember this. If you see a snake, take 2 steps back and go play somewhere else. Fastest snake in Texas goes 6 miles an hour. Everybody in this room can do 15. Get the idea? He will not chase you down. He will also not grab his tail in his mouth and roll down a hill like a hoop again. A lot of people in Texas still believe in the hoop snake. There is no such thing as a hoop snake. You guys live in Texas where everybody, how many people here live in Texas? Most of you, yeah. Everybody here knows something about snakes, and all of it's wrong. I'll give you another example. How many of you guys have ever seen a garden snake? Yeah, well, there ain't no such thing as a garden snake. There's definitely no such thing as a gardener snake. What is that, a snake with a rake? Now, grown-ups, please don't answer this question. Tell me... Am I still there? Yeah, I'm still there. Mm-hmm. Tell me, kids, what exactly is this? It's not a headband. That would be a strange fashion statement. What does a garter do? He doesn't guard things at all. Have you ever been to a wedding? Where did you see this? On the bride's leg. Now the reason for that tradition is back before they invented nylon that stays up by itself. Ladies used to wear stockings. They were basically long socks and they fell down. Okay? So under the dress that you never saw this in because they wore all the way to their ankles. You never saw their ankles back then. But they wore garters that held up the stockings. Notice how the garter has a stripe down the middle. Back in the day when ladies wore garters all the time, the snake with a stripe down the middle was named after this. It's called a garter snake, right? So a snake in the garden is not a garden snake. A snake in the grass is not a grass snake. There's a grass snake all over Europe, but there's no grass snake in the United States. That little brown snake in your backyard, the one that looks like a worm, you know what he eats? Worms. It's called a rough earth snake. Now I'll give you another one. If you ask anybody in Texas, how do I tell if that snake is venomous? They all tell you to look at the shape of what? The head. And that's wrong. First of all, this is the most venomous snake we have. And this is anatomically correct. See that little bitty head? Right? Now they all tell you to look for the triangle head. But lots of snakes with triangle heads are harmless. Most of the snakes in Texas are not water, if they're in the water. They're not water moccasins, they're water snakes. But they got a wide triangle head, even though they're harmless. What did we say was good about rat snakes? They eat rats, and they're harmless, but they got a wide triangle head. So forget the shape of the head. I want you to look at the shape of the body. This is the only snake in the United States that is long and skinny and is also venomous. All right, see this body shape? The other three, the rattlesnake, the copperhead, and the water moccasin. Thank you for not falling for that twice. You will notice he is not long and skinny, he's short and fat. You know, some of these jokes were written for the people who drove you here. Including the one that's coming next. Because you see, in the United States, unless it's a coral snake, long and skinny is good, short and fat is bad. They're like supermodels. So, what's the first word that comes to your mind when I say the word boa? Constrictor, right? You will be entirely safe in front of me, bro, I promise.
Dora! Dora looks
By the way, you guys, I want you to really, I would consider it a personal favor if you take very good care of your wait staff. I don't know if you noticed, this place is awesome for you and it's awesome for me. It's hard for him. So, here we go. I have to tell you the most creative answer I ever got to that question. I said, what's the first word that comes to your mind when I say the word boa? One little kid said narrow. Bow and narrow. I'm not making this up. This one lives in the trees. Uh-oh. And I see it's on his tree. Oh, this is going to be fun. He has a travel tree. There he is. This is the Amazon tree boa. Isn't he amazing? Isn't he enormous? No, he's not enormous. That's how he hides in the trees, by looking like a vine. Isn't he sweet? If he figures out that you know that he's not a vine, he will act like a tree viper. And it helps to know how far he can reach. You see, he has no fangs. There are no venomous boas. All snakes do have teeth, though. He's got 4 rows on top and 2 rows on bottom. And they're needle sharp, and they keep the food from sliding back out. So if he bites my nose, which is clearly his goal in life, if I try to pull him off my nose, I'm digging the teeth in deeper. It's not much fun. So here we go.
Imagine the snow.
Let's hear it for the tree boa. Yeah, usually the crowd loves me when I bleed. Let's see. You want something bigger? This is not what I meant. This is the most important animal in the show. This is the one I want you all to go home helping me stop people from killing. Okay, what did we say was good about rat snakes? They eat rats. Let me tell you how many. In his lifetime, this rat snake, the one that you would find in your own backyard right here, okay? In his lifetime, this animal can do $100,000 worth of pest control. Okay? Compared to paying the Orkin man for those 300 rats. Here we go. There is never, ever a good reason to kill our own... Oh, hold on. Wait a minute. Let me do something first. No, it's not a danger. The only danger is a strong aroma. One of the ways to avoid being eaten in the wild is to smell really bad. Ask any skunk. There is never a good reason to kill our own Texas rat snake. Seriously, this is incredibly common. If you see a big snake in your yard, anywhere around here, this is it. Now he'll hiss at you, he'll strike at you, he'll rattle his tail at you, which you might be able to actually see. Where are you going? Yeah, and if it's the leaves of the dry twigs, it sounds like a real thing. But there's never a good reason to kill one of these. In fact, if you see one, I want you to do 2 things. I want you to leave him alone, and I want you to name him George.
What if you have a dog?
Once his name is George, it's harder to kill him. It's also easier to tell the neighbors, don't mess with George. Is this starting to remind you of a medical symbol? Where are you going, George? George! Now the reason I put on the glove is because of his very advanced musk gland. Kids, if you want to know what it smells like, ask me after the show, I'll let you smell this glove. It's really awful. Yeah. Why does he do it? If the things that would have eaten him will let him go when they smell this bad. Yeah. George. All right, now the hard part is getting George back in the box. All right, George. In you go. Hello. But seriously, I want you to help me stop people from killing George. Are you with me? Cool. All right, here we go. George, in the box. In the box. Hello. Down this way. Yep, there you go. Let's hear it for George! Yikes. I don't think the glove helps. Do you want something bigger? Now this one is also from here. But I'll be amazed if there's a single person in this room who could tell me what he is. Thank you, Captain Obvious. There we go. Pretty much you have to be west of Weatherford to find these on an ordinary basis. Who can tell me what this is? Anybody know? What is he? Any guesses? This is called a bull snake. Why is he called a bull snake? They do not eat bulls. Any other guesses? He's a bull snake because he's full of bull. That's something they used to say about you in Texas. If you talked a lot but you didn't know what you were talking about, oh, they'd say, oh, that guy's full of bull, right? Well, he can not only rattle his tail like George, but he can also wiggle a little reed in the trachea, and he can do an impression of a rattlesnake with his mouth. I'm not kidding. He can actually make a rattlesnake sound with his mouth. That's why they say he's full of bull. Now, what's really cool about this particular snake is I adopted him as an adult 25 years ago. This is an old man. He's at least 35. Yeah, his former owners called him Lee, so I call him General Lee. So I will now say something you cannot normally say anymore. Let's hear it for General Lee! Do you want something bigger? Let's talk about pythons. For our first python, we go to Australia. That's right. This is the Australian jungle carpet python. You see what they call him, a carpet python? Does he look like the lobby of a cheap hotel? I swear I saw this pattern in Vegas once. He's also very arboreal. You know what arboreal means? It means he likes to climb stuff. Hello. He's always hanging on to things. You'll notice he's actually quite gentle, but he can never decide which way he's going. He's all over the place. If I give him the hat, he will usually calm down at least to climb up on it, yeah. These guys are very arboreal. Arboreal means lives in the trees. So sometimes they spend their entire life in the trees. And he catches birds as they fly by. Which means his teeth are really long. If he bit me, it would be a bigger deal. In fact, that little bitty Amazon tree boa is the same way. They're able to catch little birds as they fly by. Isn't he awesome? Now, you know what's really cool about this particular animal? One of the reasons... Stop that. One of the reasons they call him the carpet python is because the scales have a ridge on them that feel like carpet to the touch. You want to check it out? Feels like a really expensive purse. No one is ever forced to do this, but you can. Isn't that awesome? I got the eating end, you can pet the petting end. Here is my most challenging audience member. No? We're not ready yet. End of the show. Anybody else? You want to see what he feels like? Come on. See what I mean? Feels like carpet to the touch. See what I mean? There's a little ridge on every scale. They call it a keel, like the keel on the bottom of the sailboat. You guys want to check it out? Look at you. Where are you going? All of my scary turns out to be funny. There you go. Everybody give them all a hand. They were all very brave. By the way, some of you might be wondering why I'm standing here in this shirt. If you go onto my Facebook page for Snake Encounters, you can see a picture that made the national TV. I was on ESPN. Because I was hired to bring a snake you're going to meet later to drape around a cheerleader for the TCU Horned Frogs. Yes. Now I have a really good time with the Horned Frogs because in fact I met their mascot, and he knows as well as I do that what he's pretending to be is not a frog. What they're talking about is the horned lizard. Anybody remember horny toads? They weren't a toad. They weren't a frog. They were called horned lizards. Now I don't blame them for not calling them toads, because can you imagine being in the stands and going, "Go Toads!" For that matter, the horned lizard, if you actually look at what a real horny toad looks like, have any of you ever seen Futurama?
Yes.
Do you remember Hypno-Toad? Yes. That's the horned toad, or the horned lizard, yeah, the horned frog. The real horned frog looks like Hypno-Toad. That's what they based him on. I'm not kidding. I would love to see that on the sidelines. I really would. But yeah, it was kind of fun. I actually, I ended up, because they told me I was going to wait by the bottom of the goalpost while she walked up there with my snake, but when she was having trouble balancing it, she said, "You're going to be right here so I don't fall over." So I ended up in the middle of a TCU Texas football game. So yeah, so yeah, if you check that out, it's on my Facebook page. But yes, the horned frogs. So, do you want something even bigger?
Yes.
Now you know, you still haven't met anything venomous yet, have you? Do you want to? I think I'll put this back up here for a little hide. Here we go. You know what? Come to think of it, I'll also give you a little extra about that. Check this out. I'm going to get him out of the box the way they do on TV. Pretend that I have a towel on my head. Okay, I guess I'm supposed to be waving back and forth. You're waiting for something to happen, aren't you? Nothing is going to happen. Do you know why? The snake has no ears. The guy on TV who's going back and forth, the cobra, is going back and forth. You could be playing Led Zeppelin, it would make no difference. And you kids have no idea who Led Zeppelin is, do you?
No.
Led Zeppelin invented the wheel. But it doesn't matter if the snake can't hear the flute. But this one makes a sound I would like you to identify for you, or for me. And of course the only microphone I have is on my face. Can you hear it? What does that mean? That or a really cool sound effect, huh? He's from Venezuela. His name is Jesus. But most people, when they see him, pronounce it the other way. Here we go. From Venezuela, the Venezuelan rattle. Yes, that's the real thing. You know what he means when he rattles his tail? It means you're too big to eat, go away. In his world, everything too big to eat is big enough to be eaten by. Everything in the wild eats snakes. Dogs, cats, bears, birds of prey, possums, armadillos, people. He tastes like chicken. But he's saying, I think in his case, he's also saying, he really hates my breath. But no, all you really have to do is take 2 steps back and go play somewhere else. The venom isn't meant for you. The rattle is meant to give you a chance to back away. So here we go. Does everybody see him? Wait a minute, where's his lid? Here it is. Hold on. Everybody sees him? Good, let's hear it for Jesus. You know, there's an old story about the snake that was crawling down a trail. And there was a rabbit that was hopping down another trail. Yeah, well, they ran into each other. And the rabbit said, I'm sorry I didn't see you. And you need to let me pass because I'm blind. That's why I didn't see you. And the snake said, I was about to tell you to let me pass because I'm blind too. And the rabbit says, wow. He said, you know, I've never even seen my reflection in the pond. I have no idea what kind of animal I am. And the snake says, I have the same problem, but I know how to fix it. So he crawls all over the rabbit. He says, well, you're fuzzy, furry, you got a wiggly nose, big ears, back legs, big back legs. You're a rabbit. And the rabbit says, thank you, that's awesome. And now it's the snake's turn. And the rabbit says, you're low to the ground, beady eyes, forked tongue, really cold. I think you're a lawyer. Now, 90% of all lawyers give the rest a bad name. Oh God, should I do one more? There's a guy driving an 18-wheeler, right? And he's been driving for miles and miles and miles. You know those guys do hundreds and hundreds of miles. And he sees, broke down on the side of the road, you know, steam coming out of the hood. He sees a priest. He sees the collar. He's like, that's a priest. So he pulls over. He says, hop in, Father, I'll give you a ride. And the priest gets in, but the priest is so quiet that hundreds of miles later, the guy's forgetting he's there. You know what I mean? And the next person he sees getting out of his car with the steam coming out of the hood is a lawyer with his briefcase. And the 18-wheeler driver remembers his divorce, and he says, I'm going to run this guy down. And so he swerves over to hit him, and then he remembers there's a priest sitting beside him, and so he swerves back. He hears the thud, but he doesn't see anything. He says, I'm sorry, Father, I'm sorry, I forgot you were there. And I almost ran over that lawyer back there. And the priest says, do not be troubled, my son. I got him with my door.
Got him with his car door.
So you like magic, do you? Do you want a little bit more? You know, if you love magic, you gotta love the classics. Now, are you expecting a bunny? I'm sorry. They're all at home in my freezer. True story. Right next to the mice and rats. Yes, when the last girlfriend left me, I said, "Why are you leaving?" She gave me a long list, but the top of the list was my freezer. Yeah, you know how they say nice guys finish last? Nice guys who finish after them? Well, nice guys who drive a van finish after them. Exactly. Easy for me to say. But no, you want to see me pull a rabbit out of this hat? No, there's no rabbit. You want to see me pull a snake out of this hat?
Yes, everyone wants to look at rabbits.
First of all, you have to see there's nothing in the hat.
Wait.
Now, if I'm going to do this famous classic of magic, like any other magician, what would I need? A magic wand. You're absolutely right. Watch the hat, watch the hat, watch the hat. Yeah! You don't see that every day. You know, it's funny. What I usually do with this hat when I come to the improv, because frankly, well, I don't know. It's just I usually say if you really like the show, you can always grace the hat with one of these. Actually, the hat is much fonder of zeros. But anyway, do you know what the worst thing that ever happened to the dollar bill was? It was called inflation. I know, you were expecting the snake to actually come out of the hat, weren't you, right? Yeah. Can you keep a secret?
No.
Good, so can I. Oh, hey, you want to see a cobra?
No.
Thank you, Captain Obvious. No, the guy who had that cobra had 3 cobras and 4 gaboon vipers and a rhinoceros viper and 5 kinds of rattlesnakes in a 600 square foot condo on a lawn. Animal control busted the guy. It was just animal control, the cop, the landlord, and me. I was just supposed to be an advisor. But when we got in there, everybody scattered. I had enough in my van to kill me 50 times over to take back to the Dallas Zoo. All the guy got was a ticket for each one of his prohibited animals. 14 tickets, $2,000 each. Yeah. So no, I did not bring a cobra to the improv. But I told you I do birthday party shows, right? Right? Well, I was doing a birthday party show where they were doing craft projects. They were doing snakes, well, you know, made of clay, where they could paint them like milk snakes and coral snakes. They were doing the paper plate snake. You ever done that one? You cut it like a spiral, it hangs like a snake, right? My favorite, though, they were making cobras out of old neckties. They put little coat hangers in them, little eyes on them, little tongues, and they made little cobras. It was very cute. They had a whole table full. You haven't lived until you've seen a paisley cobra. So here's my tribute to that. Take this old necktie and roll it up like a snake. And then I'm going to put it on this old-fashioned magician's tray thing. I want you to pretend that the tray is a snake basket and I'm playing the flute. Now that is a deadly tie. Watch this, watch this. Down, boy. So, something just fell. Do you want something bigger? Who can tell me what you call a snake with legs? A politician. Especially lately. Another good answer would be lizard. And this is a lizard. But she is not an iguana. She's not a Komodo dragon. She's not a bearded dragon. She's not a Gila monster. And she is certainly not some gecko who's constantly going on about saving you hundreds on car insurance. She's a black and white tegu. She's from Argentina. And her name is Tia. Isn't she awesome? And isn't she gorgeous? She's also very squirmy. You know what makes her stop squirming? Eye contact. I have no idea why. I hope so. Actually, Tia does a trick. You want to see Tia's trick? Tia does an impression. You ready? This is Tia's impression of a helicopter about to crash. Let's hear it for Tia! What is that word? So let's see here. There's something else I intended to show you. Do you want something even bigger? Let's see here. Let's do this. I'm going to do this there. This here. You can sit there. And here we go. Now, before you jump to conclusions, I have a surprise for you. How many of you guys like balloon animals? You like balloon animals? As you can imagine, I do exactly one kind of balloon animal. And it's incredibly complicated. Yep, there he is, the rubber boa. Thank you for your polite applause. I can tell you're impressed. No, there is a real rubber boa. He's not really made of rubber. He just looks like he is. He is also nowhere near such an airhead. But this rubber boa is going to explain to you something you got to know about snakes that live in cages. You know what the most important thing is about the snake in the cage? You have to buy the cage first. Never come home with a snake and say, Mom, what can we keep this in? Now in the cage you gotta have certain things. You gotta have fresh water every day. That's a big deal at my house. I have 17 snakes. Yes, I'm single. So single moms, you know, I always used to follow that joke with just kidding. I stopped. In the cage, you gotta have a branch to climb on for exercise. You gotta have warm spots and cold spots so they can regulate their body temperature. You guys know why? You ever woke up with one leg out of the covers? You know what you were doing? You were thermoregulating. Try that word. Thermoregulating. Your brain said, I'm too hot under all the covers, but if I throw them all off, I'll be too cold. So I'll stick one leg out there, and it'll get cold, and I'll balance out. Well, the snake has to do that all day long because a snake under 100 blankets is just as cold as a snake with no blanket at all. So they have to thermoregulate. Now in the cage, if he's got a place to be warm, and a place to be cool. He's got fresh water, we needed that. A branch to climb on. What's the most important thing to the snake? Even more important than food, if he doesn't have this, he won't eat. You know what it is? It's a place to hide. Remember, you're too big to eat. So if he can't hide from you, he won't want to eat what you feed him. So let's just say, for argument's sake, that our rubber boa is able to hide in an empty wooden box. Now normally it wouldn't be wide open where you could see inside. It would just have a hole about the size of the snake. And he would climb in and out. But just for argument's sake, let's see that our rubber boa is able to hide in his empty wooden box. Now as long as he's got a place to hide, he'll feel all safe and secure. And if he feels safe, he'll eat. And if he'll eat, he'll grow. Sometimes it grows so fast, it seems like magic. He's become a real snake, and it's still an empty box. So does anybody know what this is? Yes, he's a snake. Oh, by the way, I used to own a real rubber boa. It was too small for what you just saw. He was about this big and he was about that long and he was cute. You know what I did for him? I went on eBay under dollhouse furniture. And I bought him a little carriage. And I put the little boa in the little carriage and I took a picture. Do you know what I called the picture? Rubber boa baby buggy. 3 times fast. Meanwhile, nobody knows what this is?
Rattlesnake.
This is a python. What kind of python? Very good, ball python. But the problem is I can't make him look like that because he's not afraid of me. So right now he's much more of a cinnamon roll python. But if he were afraid of me, he would roll up very tightly with his head and his tail in the middle. Which means the last thing he wants to do is bite. Which means these are popular as a pet. You can't get one to bite you unless you have a mouse in your hand. Which is a very bad idea. Get close to his head, look. He pulls back. You can't get him to bite you. Would you like me to prove it? Why did the anaconda cross the road?
Get to the other side.
To swallow a famous chicken. And do you know why the Texas chicken crossed the road? To prove to the possum and the armadillo that it could be done. Some of you kids are a tough crowd. Wait a minute, let me think. What made me laugh when I was your age? Do you guys know who Batman and Robin are?
Yes.
Do you know what they called Batman and Robin after the Batmobile was hit by a train?
No.
Flatman and Ribbon. Made me giggle for a half hour when I was 7. You know, there's an old story. How many of you have ever seen a snake hole? Yeah, well, there's no such thing as a snake hole. Think about it, everything that digs a hole, what does it use? How many of those do snakes have? Less than 1. The snake is in a hole, the snake stole the hole. Okay, there's lots of snakes that will use a hole to escape from you who saw him go in the hole. Therefore, the myth of snake holes. But I have to tell you about a story about that, because there was a couple of guys in the woods. They're walking along and they see a huge hole. And at first they're thinking maybe it's a snake hole, but no, snakes aren't that big, right? And they're looking and they can't even see the bottom. And they start yelling, "Who?" They don't hear an echo back. They're like, wow, that's really deep. So they start throwing stuff into it, rocks and twigs. They don't hear anything hit. One of them grabs a rock the size of a football and he heaves it in the hole, and they listen, nothing.
And the other one goes, you know, when we were walking through the woods, there was a big old railroad tie. You guys know what that is? The big log that's underneath a railroad track, right? The big piece of wood, right? He said, you know, if we get on either end of that and we throw it into this hole, we're gonna hear it hit bottom. So they went back in the woods, and they got on either end of this great big railroad tie. And they trudged toward the hole, and with a big heave in the hole, they heaved it into the hole. And before they could hear it hit bottom, a goat came running out of the woods. And he was running faster than they'd ever seen a goat run. And he ran, he jumped in the air, and he dived in the hole, and he disappeared. And they're like, what? And before they could figure out what happened, a farmer comes walking out of the woods. He says, you boys didn't see my goat, have you? It's like, yeah, we saw a goat. He was running like crazy. He jumped in the air, he dived in the hole, and he disappeared. And he said, nah, that wasn't my goat. My goat was chained to a railroad tie. So, does anybody know what the small country of Myanmar is? Anybody know? Burma, very good. Southeast Asia, land of shaving cream. Gotta be old to get that joke. From Burma, I give you the Burmese python, but even if you went to the jungles of Burma, you would never find this snake. Do you know why? Because he's right here. No another good reason would be that he would never have grown to be this big. Long ago, something we eat him. I do still speak English, right? Long ago, something would have eaten him because he would have stuck out like a sore thumb. Because you see, this is a genetic mistake. This is called amelanistic. This is lousy camouflage. That's right. Where are you going to hide in the jungle when you look like this? You know, just really quick. Okay. Ask any juggler about sudden gusts of gravity. All right. Will you stop that? All right. Long ago, I found my first snake. I was in my great grandmother's backyard in Jackson, Mississippi. It's where my mom is from. And I found a little speckled king snake, shiny black, little yellow stars down his back. And he was so gentle, when I put my hand in front of him, he crawled up onto my hand. And when I picked up my hand, he wrapped around my finger. And in a few minutes, he wrapped around my heart. But about an hour later, I killed him. I didn't mean to, I didn't know. You put him in a jar with the holes in the top, and you leave him in the car in Jackson, Mississippi. In the summertime, we were parked in the shade, but the shade moved and the snake fried. And I was so distressed that I had hurt this harmless animal that the first place we had to go when we got back to Dallas was the library. Because I not only wanted to learn everything I could about snakes, I had grown-ups reading me books I couldn't read yet. I not only wanted to never kill another snake, I wanted to stop everybody else from killing it. I've been making it up to that one snake my whole life. How many of you at the beginning of the show, you said the only good snake's a dead snake, Daddy, go get the shovel? And yesterday, if you had a shovel in your hand and a snake in front of you, you'd have killed it. But tomorrow you won't. How many hands do I get? Look around the room. That's why I do this. Give yourselves a round of applause. And by the way, the longest snake you ever found, you know what it was? Anaconda's a good guess, but wrong. I used to have one. His name was Andy. We called his cage the Andy Condo. But Andy had a behavioral problem. Andy wanted to bite you. And if Andy was not allowed to bite you, Andy got frustrated. When Andy got frustrated, Andy pooped. And when Andy could poop 9 feet. So Andy got a new home. But no, the longest snake ever found was a reticulated python. You know how long he was? He was 33 feet. Yeah. But it's been a long time since anybody's even seen a 30-foot snake.
No.
That's right. And you just met the only person you're ever going to meet who actually owns a 30-foot snake. Thank you, everyone. Wonder. Take care of your waist staff. These guys are awesome. Let's hear it for the improv. And one more little thing. You know, my father was a big guy like me. It's part of the reason I do what I do. We used to do like word jokes and whatnot at the dinner table. And I remember one time he built a shed in the backyard. And we were actually, we were sort of, well, we were just building the shed from scratch, right? And there was this moment where, well, the boards on the side of the shed we were building with, right? They had these holes in them. I said, Dad, what are these holes? He said, well, son, those are not holes. I said, Dad, if they're not holes, what are they? Yeah, well, he laughed. But you know what? I got the best wink. It was probably the best attaboy I ever got. And my father's name was George. You guys were awesome.